September 1783. 7 months after the crushing defeat at the hands of the English, the Kingdom of France is searching for a miracle. Outside the Grand Palace of Versailles, King Louis XVI stands among a silent crowd of thousands. Above them, a massive orb burns its way into the air, dragging a wooden basket toward the sky. It carries no cannons. It carries no gunpowder. It carries a sacrifice. A convict. A hero. A sheep. Yes, a regular sheep. To the crowd, he may be just a farm animal, but to history, he would change the face of the world. 10 years from this moment, the fate of an entire battalion will rest on the shoulders of this creature. This is the story of how a sheep led the French to a miraculous victory. So, why is the sky over Versailles filled with smoke and ash? And more importantly, how exactly will a sheep win France a war? To understand why a sheep became a national hero, first, we have to go back. September 13th, 1782. After the declaration of independence of the 13 American colonies from British rule, France has decided to join Spain against the English. Their aim? Take back one of the most strategic and impregnable fortresses on Earth. Gibraltar, also known as the Rock. A military base located on the Isthmus of Spain, next to the Mediterranean Sea, where millions in wealth pass through every year. But taking it is easier said than done. You see, the north is a funnel point, the east is a wall of stone impossible to climb, and the south and west are vantage points where British cannons rain fire. But the Allies, led by Louis de Crillon, had a secret weapon up their sleeves. Floating batteries. Massive, oak-fortified ships designed to be unsinkable and unburnable. However, the British, led by Augustus Elliot, had foreseen this tactic. They have a counter. Hot potatoes. Not literal potatoes, but ultra-heated iron cannonballs. Hundreds of them rained down from the cliffs, and those unsinkable batteries became floating coffins. Hundreds of men died, and the Allies, they were totally and completely crushed. Now, while the generals in Paris mourned for their fleet, 150 kilometers away, in a small town called Annonay, a man was obsessing over the news of the defeat. His name, Joseph Montgolfier. So, who exactly is this guy? Joseph was not a soldier, nor a military tactician. He was a dreamer and a paper manufacturer. He wanted to support his country, but he was out of ideas. He put down his newspaper and stared at his fireplace. Billows of smoke were rising under a piece of laundry, and he noticed something extraordinary. The fabric was rising up. And then, it hit him. The solution to the disaster at Gibraltar. The British hadn't just beaten them with cannons, they had beaten them with height. Gibraltar had one weakness no one had ever seen. It was not the north, south, east, or west. Its weakness, way up there. The sky. Yes, the sky. So, what was his solution? He would capture this rising soot, which he believed had an anti-gravity property, trap it inside a container, and then attach the container to a structure where soldiers could ride, and drop them down straight into the heart of Gibraltar. Thus, the impregnable problem of Gibraltar is finally solved. Or was it? You see, there was just one small problem to his solution. This was the 1700s, and in the 1700s, the sky was poisonous. Yes, poisonous. Let me explain. Before the Age of Enlightenment, people thought air was just air, one singular thing. But then came scientists like Joseph Priestley and Henry Cavendish, whose work changed everything. To simplify, air was then classified into 3 kinds. Breathable air, air for living. Flammable air, air that fuels fire. Mephitic air, pure poison, air that will kill you. At this time, there was no evidence of what kind of air sat above the clouds. Some believed it was all deadly mephitic air. Others thought it was the entrance to hell itself. But you see, for Joseph, certainty was better than guesswork. Thus, he and his brother, Etienne Montgolfier, spent the next 7 months in a frantic race, building, experimenting, and perfecting larger and larger paper orbs, until they caught the attention of the King of France, Louis XVI. He invited the two to perform their experiment for the world to see. But there was a catch. King Louis was not only a man of science, in fact, he was also a man of caution. He didn't want just any person to ride the orb. If the upper air proved to be toxic, and the orb came crashing down with dead people in it, it wouldn't just tarnish his reputation, it would give the public one more reason to curse his name, especially at a time when the royal coffers is piling with debts and brutal famine was ravaging France. So he came up with a cold proposal. Send the convicts, specifically those already facing the death penalty. The logic: they were going to die anyway. If the sky was poisonous, nothing was lost. But one of his advisors rejected his proposal, arguing that the birth of human flight shouldn't be tarnished with filth if the sky is proven to be safe. So, the brothers came up with a plan. A plan that sounds crazy, but logically and scientifically sound. Instead of human, they will send a sheep. Yes, a regular sheep, and his name, Montauciel. The reasoning: a sheep weighs as much as a human, and has approximately the same physiology of a human being. But to account for contingencies, they also threw a duck and a rooster in there. So, on September 19, 1783, in front of thousands of crowds, Queen Maria Antoinette and King Louis XVI, the stage was set to determine whether the upper atmosphere was indeed a toxic hellhole. At around 1 p.m., a golden blue orb rise up above the roof of the Palace of Versailles. For 8 minutes, the crowd watched in terrified silence as the balloon pierces 400 meters into the sky. When it finally descended and crashed 3 kilometers away, the men rushed to the site, expecting to find a cage of corpses. But instead, they found the duck and rooster perfectly fine. And the sheep. He was standing calmly, completely unharmed, and already munching on straw. Thus, the mystery was finally solved. The sky was safe. Now, while King Louis celebrated this scientific triumph before this thousands of crowd, he had no idea that in just 10 years, these very same people would cut off his head. Paris, June 14, 1789. The French citizens have had enough. Famine and crushing class tax have finally pushed them to their breaking point. From the smoke and ashes of Bastille, a republic was born. The French Revolution has begun. But while they have freed themselves from the shackles of monarchy, hundreds of kilometers away, the Austrian king, Leopold, watched in horror. He sees this revolution as an infection, a plague ready to spread all over Europe. He issues the Declaration of Pillnitz, a letter hinting to restore the French monarchy. But for the revolutionaries, they didn't take this as a hint. They took it as a threat. They decided they wouldn't wait for the fight. They would bring the fight. France declares war on Austria. June 26, 1794, Fleurus, Belgium. 1 year into the war, the Republic is fighting for its very survival. On the northern point of France, beside river of Sambre, the French are on the offensive. Their objective: capture the fortress of Charleroi, a vital position for defending France from invasion. 4 times they have tried to take it, and 4 times they have been beaten back. General Jourdan has finally surrounded the fortress, but time is running out. To the northeast, a massive relief army led by Prince Josiah of Coburg is marching to save the city. The battlefield is a nightmare of black powder smoke, turning the soldiers into blind men in a gunfight. The swamp and thick sulphurous cloud amplify the difficulty of the terrain. And then, the French's secret weapon appear and rise to the sky. Suddenly, through the smoke, a massive balloon, the L'Entreprenant, ascended 400 meters into the sky. Inside the wicker basket was Captain Coutel. From his vantage point, the fog didn't exist. He looked down and saw exactly what the French generals couldn't: the Austrians' movement and cannon positions. For 9 grueling hours, Coutel sent down notes and deliver hand signs signaling enemy positions. The Austrian soldiers were shocked. They had not seen such technology and saw it as unfair. They tried to shoot the balloon, but it would just rise up. The feeling of being constantly watched, unable to hide even their smallest movements, drains their morale. And then, after a day of fighting, the force of the prince retreated. The fortress of Charleroi was secured. The revolution was saved. France had won. Now, you might be asking, Where exactly was Montauciel in this war, and how exactly did he lead the French to victory? The answer lies in a single word: validation. You see, this wasn't just a win for the military, it was a win for a flawed theory. At the time, Joseph believed his balloons rose because of a mysterious anti-gravity property in the smoke. We know now he was wrong. The balloon didn't fly because of the soot. It flew because of simple physics. His machines were bulky, dangerous, and required a massive fire just to stay aloft. But because Montauciel survived that first flight, he provided the ultimate proof. Life could exist in the sky. That survival was the green light the world needed. Once the sky was proven safe, other scientists improved upon his discovery. This shift allowed the French to move the spectacle to a military machine. If Montauciel had landed dead, the French government might have banned ballooning or delayed the technology's arrival, and the l'entrepreneur might never have risen over the Battle of Fleurus. So, did the sheep shift the tides of war? Directly? No. The sheep never saw a trench. The glory belongs to the French people. Indirectly? Absolutely. Montauciel was the pioneer who proved that high ground was reachable. He was the validation that allowed the Republic to employ the technology that had haunted them since the Great Siege of Gibraltar. Now, after the battle at Fleurus, France would launch Compagnie d'Aerostat, the world's first military aviation unit. And as for Montauciel and his companions, they were retired to the Queen's private gardens, living out their days in peace, as pioneers who proved the heavens were safe. That is it, the mystery of the sheep that won France a war. A story of how a flicker of fire inspired a man to conquer the sky. A story of how a humble creature sent to face death proved that the impossible could be touched. And a story of how a single heartbeat in a wicker basket convinced a nation that the heavens were no longer the domain of gods, but also of men. This file is closed, for now, but not forgotten. Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you want to investigate some more curiosities, subscribe, so we can unfold more stories and unravel the mysterious, the bizarre, and the untold.